Well, what's up, everybody? You guys made it to another episode of Just in the Nick of Crime. Now, this particular episode, I think it's been on my radar to do since like the 22nd, and I keep pushing it. And I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but I've had some stuff going on in my personal life, which is why y'all haven't seen me as much. Still posting a little bit here and there, but things are getting back to normal. So that's kind of what we're going to do. But this was the second diary that we were starting to talk about the last time we talked about the first diary journal from one of Epstein's victims. This is the second one. Now, what's funny about this one, before we get into it, is that there was no translation for this one that I saw. Like the first diary that we talked about, there was translations done by somebody, DOJ, FBI, whatever. This one did not have that. It did not seem so. I went and painstakingly did it manually, and then afterwards, today, as a matter of fact, I found where it was typed out somewhere else. So, good waste of time for me. Now, that being said, we are streaming. Let me get my stuff pulled up here real quick so I can do my whatever we have to do. So we are streaming on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and I have TikTok pulled up over here. Normally, I don't involve TikTok anymore because they have angered me all the time, but I figured I would bring it up today. And for my TikTok friends, if you guys want to see what we're talking about, not just hear about it, you can jump over to YouTube, same name, Just in the Nick of Crime. That being said, also with YouTube, I am like less than 7,500 or so, less than 8,000 for sure, people away from hitting that 100,000 mark. Please, please, please go follow me over there if you don't already. Help me hit that 100,000 mark so I can just get the stupid plaque. That's all I want. That's all I want in this world right now is that plaque. It's little things that make life worth living, I guess. The other thing I want to talk about is the petition. If y'all have not signed the petition, you know what? Let me get it pulled up real quick too. The petition to end easy plea deals for those who harm kids. If you have not signed that yet, we are 257,000, almost 258,000 signatures on that. Depending on where you're watching this, if you are watching this, I'm going to try to get the screen up here so y'all can see it. Here it goes, guys. Bam. If you are watching this on Instagram or TikTok, the link to this petition is in my bio. It takes 2 seconds to sign it. All you do is add your name to it, and basically we're going to try to end the easy plea deals that allow people to walk away. People like Jeffrey Epstein, who got a sweetheart deal that allowed him to continue what he was doing for additional years later, where you had basically no time in prison. Please go sign it. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, it should be in the show notes. So please take 2 seconds and do that for me. Is that all I really have for you guys in the way of notes? It might be. Let me look. Sorry, I'm trying to get this back to. I can't see. Oh, there we go. Whatever. We'll figure it out. What else do I got for y'all? Oh, if you cannot stay the whole time, if you are somewhere else, watching this, Insta, Facebook, well, Facebook might have it, TikTok, and you want to see the whole thing, these are saved under the live playlist, so you can go back and watch it if you miss it. Now, that being said, here's what I want to do. I think, did I get everything? Yeah. Okay, cool. I did. Those are all my little reminders. So I want to talk about this diary again. We're going to talk about it real quick. There it goes. We did a diary a couple weeks ago, that basically was a journal that came from one of Epstein's victims. It was very clear that journal, that diary, was written in the early 2000s. And it had cryptic ciphered writing. And the ciphering wasn't really hard. You'll see it here. In fact, let's go ahead and, she's got this card that she shows. And you know what? Before I get there, you'll see the ciphered writing, and we deciphered it, and we'll kind of tell you what it goes. This is painful. This one might be more painful than the first one. So here's what I'm going to do. If you're on TikTok, jump over to YouTube if you want to see this. I'm going to go ahead and make this big so y'all can see it as best as you guys can. And the first thing starts off with this card. It says 16. So that is telling me that this victim is 16 years old. It is also telling me that she must have just turned 16 because, as it says here, old enough to drive, too young to go anywhere fun. It says, happy sweet 16. I love you. Happy birthday. And I can't tell what that says, but it almost looks like it says Jeff. And then it says, happy birthday, love. Something they redacted the name, love. I can't tell who that is. Maybe Tanya. But I don't hold me for sure that that's Jeff. I don't know, but it looks like it could be Jeff. Y'all make that determination. Next page, we go here. And this is what I was talking about when it comes to the ciphering. So this was kind of hard to go through, and I did it anyways. I wrote it all down in this book right here. Did this by hand, guys. So make it count. Hit the like button. You know, join the YouTube channel if you want. So here's what it says. So the way that this cipher is broken is it goes up, down, up, down. So you do the first two letters of the first two letters of the word vertically. Then it goes diagonally back up. So like this THA, like TH is the, and then at. So it's that is the first word. If you guys see how this is. Okay. So that my mom, so this is what it says, that my mom lied about Mr. Glickman all the time. She lied about work trips, about Michigan, and about Clearwater. Now he is dead, and I'm being sent to live with her friend. Back and forth for how long? That's what this one says on this page. And you can see she's cut out. I mean, this is very, by the way, this journal was done in 2003. So there's a date where there's notes in here, and it's one of them's dated 2003. So that's how I know that. And that's going to be significant here because we're going to talk about AOL in a little bit. So you can see what she's got up here: funeral, 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 watches and weeps, lays to rest. So this is very much, there's a redacted here. This is very much reminiscent of like what people were doing at that time with magazine cutouts. Right. So then you have this picture of, it looks like trees looking up. I don't know the significance of that really. And then you have, these are going to be kind of harder for me to read, but we'll do it anyways. Y'all can kind of do it too. There we go. Sorry, it's kind of small, but I'll do my best here. It says, these are notes, and it says, happy Valentine's Day. How have you been lately? Did you enjoy your weekend? I didn't. I didn't do anything all weekend. My weekend sucked. Anyway, spelled N-E-W-A-Y-Z. Again, reminiscent of that time. I think I need to make this bigger. Need to make it bigger on my end. Sorry, guys. Getting old. It's also very hard to read. I think I know what I'm going to be doing for my birthday. I might go to the Olive Garden, and I can't tell what that says. I can't tell where it's maybe Georgia, Georgetown. I'm not really sure. Gentry. I can't tell. But right now, I'm so bored. Well, that's all I have to say. Oh yeah, one more thing. Will you be my Valentine? Yours always, redacted. And then this is different handwriting on the next one. And it says, hey, how are you? I was going to talk to you about this before, but you still had a boyfriend. And then I was going to talk to you this morning, and you said to write a letter, so I'm writing a letter. I wanted to ask if you would like to go out with me. I already have your phone number. This is her phone number. And then it's got this like bye-bye looking thing, and it's got a name. Now, when you look at this, and I was not in 03, I graduated class of 2000, but this is very much the time period that I would have been in high school. And you know, things hadn't really changed that much from the late 90s, early 2000s. This is very high school coded, right? Like it looks like a 16-year-old girl is writing these. And then you get to this next one. And again, this is also very coded because you have an image of the power, of one of the Powerpuff Girls and whatever the hell this is. But it's also got a date, 10/16/03. So that's how I knew that this was from 2003. So it says, well, how are you? There's something I have to tell you. Or hello, how are you? Redacted. There's something I have to tell you. Well, redacted. To tell you the truth, I liked you since the first day you walked into my class, and redacted. I was wondering if you would do me the honor and be my girlfriend. Well, I'll let you think about it. Okay. Sincerely, Mike. So that's not redacted, but if you look at the writing and especially the exclamation marks here, and then you go back to this one, the one before this one, let me go back here. Again, if you're on TikTok, you can jump over to YouTube and see this. This one, even though they redacted it, where is it? Is it this one? Trying to find it. There was writing that looked very similar on something, but maybe I'm missing it or I lost it. But anyways, doesn't matter. And Sincerely Mike, and you have the drawings, right? So then we get to the next page. And it says, hold on, let me do this. Here, go back to normal size. So again, these are the clippings that the people just did back then, right? So I can make myself small on this here. Let me see if I can do this. Maybe this helps you guys. Okay, there we go. I always felt detached from everyone else. I knew I was going somewhere different, that I was in the wrong shell. And it says another one, fueled by a father's love, computer technology. You have Magellan, the sister, Y, Vienna. She's always, she wrote, then in charge, then understanding, putting no into no understanding. And it says, instead of saying seeker of souls, which she cut out, she crossed out seeker and put stealer of souls. So this is kind of the mindset. And then you have these couple of drawings that look like this. There's not really anything in them, just, drawings. I think that it probably shows her mood, how she feels, if I'm guessing. Then we go to this page. It says, not very relaxed, 1,000 concerts to go to. This woman, cut out of her in a red dress, a dancer, and it says strictly confidential. Then we get to this page. And we're going to start getting some names here in a minute. So it says, you're kidding. And then you have at the bottom, can she help? And so let's read kind of what we have here. Make sure. Okay, it says, went to this party at this huge house to meet this man named Mr. Robert and his pretty wife, Jill. The same exact British lady from Clearwater was there. She talked to me all night. She wants me to come to her house in Florida so I can learn new things. To get away from Mary? Question mark. Now, I don't know who Mary is, obviously, but that's what she's saying. And I think we can assume that the British lady in Florida is probably Ghislaine Maxwell. So where she wrote this, and this is important, the to get away from Mary part, that last line, is what's written right next to the can she help. So then, again, stuff that's reminiscent of that early 2000s time period is this. And we've seen this image before, I believe, in the previous journal. And you can see all the things: red light, quiet, the Game Boy and a thong. I know that's a very weird image. Open your eyes. There are a lot of things to think about. Even if you can fill out the sexiest polka dot bikini, you'll turn more heads with Wario Land 3 in your Game Boy. So yeah, get into it. And then it says me or us. It looks like she wrote that. Why there's so many questions. So here's where these are. So for this first one on the far left, where you see moments of humor, compassion, and warmth, she wrote above that, there were moments of humor, compassion, and warmth. And then right next, which is but now lost. Also above it, it says, I think I may be lost. And then underneath it, it's lost. Is this normal? No, I don't think. Somebody said Jill equals Gil. I don't think so, because it's Mr. Roberts and his lovely wife, Jill. And it's spelled Jill, and she spells Ghislaine later in this thing. And Ghislaine didn't have a husband, and the last name wasn't Robert. So that's a good guess, though. It's a good guess. Okay, so then we have this page. The way she was, it doesn't matter. Just try it and feel it. Memory. And on the right of memory, it says, what is this stuff? What is that feeling? So again, you're getting to kind of see how she's feeling. This is what she's doing with what she has. And then we have another one. This one's going to be heavy, guys. I'm just going to warn y'all. This is heavy. What we're about to read here with this. So you can see on the top, it says on her own, an old lady and a young lady, the little girl lost. And it says, you always think you're prepared for everything, and you think you have knowledge of what's coming ahead. And it says Diana at Prince Charles's High Grove estate in 1986 told the BBC Panorama in 1995. Now, bear in mind, Jack, it said Mr. Roberts, not Robert. Mr. Roberts, plural. So then it said, now bear in mind, you got to keep the Diana thing in mind. Just keep that in the back of your head. We're going to talk, that's going to come back up later. Keep Diana in mind. So what this says is no one, I'm going to try to keep it YouTube friendly, guys. No one can prepare you for this ish. I am so effing lost. Why did Mr. Colgan agree to this? Jeffrey treats me like I'm special property. Like I am special property. And when I need Ghislaine, she is working. And Mary is just as bat-ish crazy as my mom. Joe Gibbs is so nice, but Dan Snyder's a pig, a red skin hog TT. What it says. And real quick, somebody asked us in another thing. The Dan Snyder referenced here is not the Nickelodeon Dan Snyder. It is the billionaire Dan Snyder, former owner of the Washington Commanders. So completely different person. It says the other girls, well, some are nice, but I hate, exclamation mark, Alice in effing Wonderland. And then where it says, suddenly the insignificant ugly duckling was obviously going to be a swan. And it says underneath it, for them. So we get here. And then, let me go back here real quick. Sorry, I missed these because it was scrolled on my page. It says, fly it anywhere you like, drowsy side effects. Interesting that she put those. So now we're going to go to this next page. So you see the Harvard shirt, you see the New York shirt, you see the dancer. And you also see what a very jolly and amusing attractive 16-year-old she was. Great fun and bouncy. Charles 32 courts his teen queen. So we're going to come back to that in a minute. I told you guys to remember Diana and Charles. Well, Diana. So this one says, thank God my parents picked me up. For being a Rockefeller, that plane Mr. Dana had me on was scary. Both he and Larry Summers are effing disgusting. Hope no relation to Tracy. I guess it's a royal thing. Gross. Andrew is like his brother in this way. Redacted. Should not brag because that was yucky. Does this lady know you can't have any dignity if you've been with him? I know I have none. Only Skittles. That's what she says. So basically what this is that that's clearly a reference to Charles and Diana, because Charles was in his 30s when she was like 16 years old, and you can see what he says. What a very jolly and amusing and attractive 16-year-old she was. Great fun and bouncy. Apparently that is a quote from Charles. And then obviously we're talking about Andrew here. So yeah. Now here's going to get a little heavy on this next one, guys. Go to the next one here. Okay, so you can see it's good to be little, but she crossed out good and put bad on this. One more, you can't tell. Who knew? A story of a different America. Then it says a weekly indulgence below that. And this is no protection, only comfort from G, meaning Ghislaine, all convenience. Day and night. Then it says ambassador. And then it says, you see this picture of this young girl here, like the bottom half of her, like in the skirt and her shoes and stuff. It says people come to your party for two reasons. One, because they like you. The other because they like two. Then it says touch one child, and she underscored child multiple times and put 3 exclamation marks. So again, I think that this is telling you guys some stuff. Now this is a hard one. So top, concerned every day, problem, nausea, a sea of grief. You can see the little baby feet there in that picture. Clearly that's a fetus. This is birth control. Remember, you know our names, and then something completely names, bet, and then something completely redacted. So let me start at the top. Right next to the picture, it says, I'm so very sorry, little one. Somebody said, what was Skittles code for? I don't think she was speaking code in Skittles. I think she was just saying she has no dignity. She's a kid. She's a child. So I think she's saying, I don't have dignity. I have Skittles. I think she literally meant the candy. I'm so sorry, little girl, or little one. So this kind of goes with the first journal where we talked about, and I believe that they're the same person, by the way, based on the way it's written, the handwriting, the ciphered text. I think that it's the same person, but We know that she had a baby taken from her based on that. And we don't know what happened. It sounds like the baby died or babies died. So, yeah. Then it says on this bottom right, what are these bets and why do I have to take photos? I am lost. Mr. Modi, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Sant, Mr. Ludwig, Mr. Cici, Mr. Mora, Mr. Goodlotty, I'm not saying that right, Mr. Atkins are not who they say. So I'd be very interested in, and then it kind of cuts off at the very bottom left here, so I couldn't see what it says after that. But I did the best that I could. And then we go to the next page. Okay, so this is wishing you all the joy and peace of Christmas this season. It looks like somebody sends it, love you, and it's got an initial. I can't tell who that is. Then it says, but it doesn't stop there, and she wrote, it never stops. And I can assume that we know what it means. Then it says, take your tablets. She had the tablets thing. Take your tablets. That's how I survived. Is there a way to break free? And then she put there is, and underneath where it says confidential, attorney's eyes only, it says not. Then it says smile. And she wrote in, it was an incredible, exceptional, outstanding performance for a child. Nothing gets remembered. Then she put got it. And then on the left or right side of that says, why didn't anyone stop it from the start? A personal, violent, heartbreaking, tragic nightmare. Then it says at the very bottom, you had to either sink or swim, and you had to learn that very fast. I swam. I mean, this is really heavy stuff, guys. So this is travel to another state, and she put New York. Now, let's start what she wrote down that's not ciphered. Walk down Madison Avenue to 71st. I'm going to ask some questions from the audience real quick. Who knows what's significant about that? Who knows what's significant about walk down Madison Avenue, 71st? What's on 71st, guys? What's on 71st? Y'all know? Anybody? No, nobody's, none of y'all are going quick on this. Okay. Howard Lutnick. Nope, that's a good guess, though. Apartment, close. The New York townhouse. Correct. The New York townhouse. Epstein's townhome was on 71st. Epstein's townhome was on 71st. The largest private residence. So that's where we know that she's going. Okay. So that's a good answer. Sorry, I got to keep you guys, keep you guys in it, right? Keep you guys in it. All right. So here's what this one says. Again, I'm going to keep it safe for social media. My mother has lost her effing mind, even though Ghislaine said it was best to take me to the house, to take me home because Mr. Okay. Oh, sorry. I realize where I am. Let me pause here for a minute. There's going to be something very significant that comes from this that we need to talk about, and we need to have a discussion as to why the F is this person not being investigated. Okay, so let me start over. My mother has lost her effing mind, even though Ghislaine said it was best to take me home because Mr. Black is so important for some reason over my health. There is going to be hell to pay. Ruin their trip, and I'm dramatic when that fat F bit me. He threw me on the floor and got blood all over Jeffrey's carpet. And I'm the issue? Who the F bites someone? Sick. No one is that important. And Leon can go F himself. I hate New York. Let's stop here for a minute, guys. Let's talk about why. I'm going to make myself bigger on this real quick. Let's talk about why this is significant, okay? Because number one, this is a 16-year-old child, but there's also in another document. See, when you look at these documents, when you look at these files, right? It's how does document 1 work with document 101? How does that document go with 1,058? How does that go with 728,000? That's what this is. So when you start seeing things and you start trying to connect them, which they don't make it easy, you're like, okay, this makes sense. So I read that, okay? So I read that and I go back to another report that was done. I have to go find the exact document. I didn't get a chance to do it before I came on live, but there's another document where Leon Black, who is the former CEO of the Apollo Group, the company that owns Shutterfly and LifeTouch, was accused of biting the genitals of a 7-year-old girl. Okay? 7-year-old girl. So now we have in this journal of a 16-year-old girl, 15 to 16-year-old girl, accusing Leon Black of biting her. Somebody asked, will this be posted later? I want to see the rest, but I have to go. Yes, this is posted on YouTube. It'll be up permanently for anybody who has to come and go. So that's why I find this to be really interesting. Right? This is why it's significant. Now we have a second person. So then my question comes to this. Why is there no investigation into any of these people through the United States? Why? Why are we not hauling Leon Black in before a congressional committee? Why are we not looking at any of this stuff and hauling them in before a congressional committee? Like, why are the federal government, the DOJ, the FBI, why are none of them doing any inquiries? Why are they saying that there is nothing to investigate when clearly there is? If me, just having gone through a tiny fraction of these files, have been able to make this connection, what do you think they could do if they actually put their mind to it and ran stuff through? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me, and we need to continue to be very, very, very mad about this. Somebody said it's about money. It's absolutely about money, Lane. Absolutely about money. It's completely unacceptable. Anyways, let's go back to this. But I wanted to show y'all that because he bit this girl so hard that she got blood on Jeffrey's rug. Like, that's so incredible. God. You know? Anyways, let's continue on. Let's continue on. So she had a poem next, and I'm going to read the poem because if she felt it was important enough to have in here, then we should talk about it, right? Make sure I got everything from that last one. Okay, cool. I got it. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot on the last one. Let me go back to this one before I do the poem. Sorry, because I got into that and I kind of stopped. Okay. I was crying out for help, helpless, evil in pain, hate, raging, really sick. You should call 911, tears of rage. So she put all that on there as well. Again, for my TikTok friends, if you want to see the photos and stuff of this diary that we're going through, I am live on YouTube. You can go take a look at it. So here's the poem. It's called Stop Dead. And you can see Stop Dead. And you can see right beside it. You don't even have to know how to decipher this to really easily see. She says Leon Black. Right? I mean, that's what it says. It's very easy to see that. So here's the poem she chose to put in here. She's put a lot. Now, I've noticed from the other one too, I don't know where this old book of poetry came from. She has an old book because we see a lot of these poems dated from the 60s that I've seen dated from the 60s. I think 3 or 4 of them that all seem to come from the same book, same type of font that are on the date and the page numbers and even the poem. So she goes, a squeal of brakes, or is it a birth cry? And here we are hung out over the dead drop. Uncle, Pants Factory, Fatso, Millionaire, and you out cold beside me in your chair. The wheels, 2 rubber grubs, bit their sweet tails. Is that Spain down there? Red and yellow, 2 passionate hot metals. Writhing and sighing, what sort of scenery is this? It isn't England, it isn't France, it isn't Ireland. It's violent, and she understands. You look at the words that she's underlining too. So far, birth cry, Fatso, millionaire. It's violent is underlined. Here we are on a visit with a GD baby screaming off somewhere, and she underlines that part about the baby screaming. She also says there's always a bloody baby in the air, and she underlines there's always a bloody baby. I'd call it a sunset, but whoever heard a sunset yowl like that? You're sunk in your 7 chins, still as a ham. Who do you think I am, uncle? Sad Hamlet with a knife. Where do you stash your life? Is it a penny, a pearl, your soul? Oh, sorry, it's because I'll carry it off like a rich, pretty girl. I think that's what it says. Simply open the door and step out of the car and live in Gibraltar on air. So that's what she wrote. That she says goodbye. Something's redacted. Heartbreak. Protected from. The little girl lost me. It says, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I keep failing, I think that's what it says. Did I write that one down? I think I might have forgotten to write that down. Somebody said, and why did the former administration do anything? They had every bit of this information too. I'm gonna stop real quick and answer that because a lot of people have that question, and I want to answer that very respectfully. I've answered it before in videos, but the reason that previous administrations didn't release this information was because there was an investigation still going on. Presidents don't really have the authority to release documents, especially when an investigation is going on. That is the DOJ's job. There was an investigation going all the way until January of 2024. Records were sealed by federal judges to protect victims, to protect witnesses, basically to protect people. So when you go back to like Obama, Trump's first administration, or Biden, none of them had the authority to release this. In fact, it took a literal act of Congress. Even when President Trump campaigned on releasing the files, he didn't have the power to do it. He was relying on Congress doing it when he said that, or doing it or not doing it, because Congress held all the power for it. So that's for people who are wondering, that's the question. Or that's the answer to that question, why other administrations or even the previous Trump administration didn't do it. So then we go here. Ladies' man, terrible guy with a gift for giving girls. We can tell she's talking about Epstein. In a world of wealth and privilege, this is about power and control, the special roles to fulfill. And she goes, your voice has more power, has the power. She crossed out the and put the answer no, then put tragic childhood underneath it. And no matter where you are, nothing gives you the power to be heard. And then she put no voice, and then she put tracker. So this is all kind of giving the state of mind and what she's living through. Then we have this. You only get 365 of these each year, talking about days. Imagine working the most of every single one. Imagine making the most of every single one. So here's what she wrote. I no longer have. I have none. It goes to anyone but me, and I am tired. People you think are good are bad. Like I think it's COES. I wonder if it's CEOs. Oh, CEOs. There we go. I think she meant CEOs who pretend. I think that's what it says. So that's what it says there, and then it says underneath it, eternity. So then you have her using magazine clippings again. This is for people who come in. This is very reminiscent of the early 2000s, late 90s. I mean, this is what you did. You used magazine clippings on everything. You did projects. You used magazine clippings. I mean, it just was how it was. For those of y'all old enough to remember it, you know what I'm talking about. So it says anxiety is finding, and she put a little caret up here and said anxiety is not finding. It says, GM, please explain. They know and talk about it, but she put won't talk about it. And then on the right side says her magic. How much do you need to see to know? And she crossed out I'm beautiful and put she's beautiful. Then it says no one picks up. Then it says no one picks up more dirt than quote his girls. So then another clipping. What's the difference between us and who else is actually like me? No one will ever be able to fill them. And on the left it says could still make her laugh. And then she's got this Maxwell Shoe Company Incorporated, and she's got these other names. So Jones, New York, Sam and Libby, Maxwell Shoe Company, etc. So again, this is all giving you kind of a state of mind as to what this girl is going through. Now we have another picture of women dancing. I'll fight to survive with sensitivity and grace. She has, this original clipping said, you have nothing to lose. And she crossed out nothing, put everything. Never forget where real beauty comes from. Beauty is inside. Now, you can see on this one that there are two redacted photos or images that they did. Okay. This is another one of those that is really heavy. Okay. because let's go ahead and read what it says. I heard the heartbeat even when she put her hands over my ears. Aren't pictures enough for them? Torture. That's what it says in that top right. Well, y'all, I can point, but you guys see. Then it says theory for every something crossed out problem. She got crossed out, beautiful, soul shattering solution. Then it says best medicine. She put question marks behind that. Then it says, should I deeply miss them? Then tears of rage, heart wrenching. And then she says on the left side, have these all been murders? Talking about more than one. So to me, if I'm reading, and this doesn't make me a killer on the other side. So to me, this indicates that there's been more than one death of a baby with this. And she's questioning it. So this is something that, why aren't we talking more about this? Why aren't authorities looking more into this? They probably know who wrote this. Why aren't they doing something about it? Anyways. So then we have this page, flights of fancy. She crossed out fancy and put horror, and she put in a yacht instead of, I guess, flights. So flights and yachts of horror is what she did. Okay. So the more you pay, the more you get. This is A, false, B, untrue, or C, crazy. And she circled C, crazy. This is who knows how many times, more times than I can count. So now let's read what the rest of this says. Oh, sorry, guys. I forgot to switch this for you guys. That's where we're at. Sorry. Forgot to switch the page. So y'all can see kind of what I was talking about before I read. So here's what she wrote, what's written down here. There are always flights of horror, whether it's with Jeffrey, Mr. Leonis, Mr. Case, Mr. Snyder, the Gregorys, Mr. Colgan, or one being borrowed by a seemingly good federal worker. And even rented, it is all horror, and nothing is as it seems. I am so confused by everything, and people you expect to be good, like even old senators like George Mitchell, who you think will be like a grandpa, are bad. Mr. Kimsey is deranged. The answer is C, crazy. And it says Talus. Let's pause here for a moment. Let's have a conversation. If you saw my Instagram or Facebook post, you know some of the names that are significant here. Okay. Ted Leonis, Jim Kimsey, and Steve Case. That is Mr. Leonis, Mr. Case, and Mr. Kimsey. Mr. Kimsey is deranged. If you saw my post earlier, I screwed up the post and then had to redo it. Those are the CEOs, the founders of AOL, of America Online. So they would have been massive big deals back then, especially in 2003. AOL was still pretty big, still going. So that's something that you guys need to know. Now, again, we're talking about Dan Snyder, is Mr. Snyder. I don't know who the Gregorys are. Does any of you guys know who the Gregorys are, by the way? I don't know. I haven't looked that far into it. I find it interesting also that she talks about being rented or being barred by a seemingly good federal worker, which shows that there's federal people involved. I'd be also interested to know who Mr. Colgan is. Yeah, Steve Case of AOL, exactly. Steve Case, Ted Leonis, and Jim Kimsey, all of AOL. So, yeah. Interesting, right? So that's pretty big. And then go to the next one. Then from there, I'll get this pulled back up here to you guys. Sorry. Put it back on. There we go. Okay. We did the flights of fancy. Then you have this page where all you have is this little bottom. I can't even tell what it really says. It looks scratched or like a photo or Matt. I can't tell what it is, but you can just feel all to look. I did flights of fancy. Sorry. There we go. Then she did. Oh, it's another flights of fancy. They had the same one here twice. The way they did this. Then they have the monkeys, and then they put underneath it something's redacted. And then here she has, we understand that so this is one of those things that we understand to grow up big and strong and stable takes a really, really long time. But it says, you have more. We understand that it takes more than days, weeks, or months. It takes years, even decades to grow and nurture and develop into something that stands proud and magnificent. Pay tribute to the determination required to produce such hardy roots, and let us all live by its simple creed: grow, blossom, and flourish. And underneath it has this Colonial Williamsburg thing, so that tells us kind of, I guess, where she is at that point, or she had gone there. So I look at these, and it's very interesting because what you kind of see is you see this girl, young girl, handling things that no 16, 15-year-old. Oh, could that be a sunset on a plane? Let's go back to it real quick. No, I love you guys. Y'all are good at this stuff. All right, let's go back to this real quick. Could that be a sunset on a plane? It possibly could. It absolutely possibly could. I don't know if it's a magazine cutout or a picture she took, but that's it almost looks like it's carved into it like it would be a picture. That's a good guess, Jack. That's a really good guess. Maybe that's what it is. But to me, I think that we're looking at this and what you're seeing is a young girl trying to cope and survive with these horrible things happening, with anger, with anguish, with sadness, with then trying to keep hope, like, this is not going to get me. I'm going to swim. I'm going to be stronger from this, really trying to talk herself up as to everything she's having to live. Like, this is all just, and then she's got this, which is clearly an older picture from a magazine or a book. It says Tea Time with Coco, Ringo, Hamlet, and Rivety. Little girl playing tea set. And that's pretty much the end of this journal. So let me ask you guys something real quick. Jack, you're being constructive regardless. Even if it's not what we think it is, it's still constructive to try to put that in there because you never know. Oh, she's in the cockpit. There you go. So here's the thing. How do y'all feel after this one? If you missed the first diary, it is on the lives that you guys can see. You can go back and look at the first one. I believe it's the same person. But these diaries to me are really significant. I feel like there's a lot of things that are really significant about some of the stuff that people are really sleeping on as far as analyzing or looking at it. I mean, because, we're looking at a girl who received a Sweet 16 card, at the very beginning of this. That's how it starts, which means that she was just turning 16 when this happened. We have dates on this, so we know it's 2003. We have ideas of some of this stuff, and she mentions a lot of this in, a lot of things and names that the people that she's dealt with. She's literally mentioning things that were done to her, mentioning names of people who were part of this. She mentions a senator. Senator George Mitchell is 93 years old. He's alive. Steve Case, or sorry, is it Steve Case? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Steve Case or Jim Kimsey is dead from AOL, but the other two I'm pretty sure are still alive. Leon Black is still alive. I don't know who the Gregorys are, but they're probably still alive. Quick question. Am I certain it's that Snyder? I'm certain that it's not Dan Snyder from Nickelodeon. Yes. I'm certain that it's the other one. It makes more sense because you're talking about billionaires, and that other Dan Snyder is a billionaire and has other names like Joe Gibbs and stuff that are attached to him. So yes, I'm confident. Plus, Dan Snyder, the Nickelodeon guy, he's never had any. I mean, he's had implications against him, but he's never had implications of really being somebody. I mean, involved with Epstein or any of that group. The thing is, like, you had entertainers that were part of this group, but they were very like your Kevin Spacey's or your very high entertainers. You're not having like really producers from Nickelodeon shows that are still low level compared to them, kind of really circulating in these groups. Not really, at least. Somebody's good for $4 billion. That's $4 more billion than I have. So good on him, I guess. But the thing is, they're not questioning any of these people, and I don't know why. And the thing is, I mean, I do know why. I have an inclination as to why, but it's not a good reason. It's not a good reason because you want to protect billionaires. You want to protect your friends. That's not a reason. I don't know. I don't know, guys. It's a lot. Now, I do want to ask y'all something real quick. What it's been a little bit of while since I've really kind of started posting. I'm trying to get back into it. I'm getting ready to go out of town. I'll still post while I'm out of town for my daughter's spring break. But what have I not covered that so far that y'all want to see covered? I can't cover conspiracies unless I know that I found evidence that they've happened. That's just not who I am. So like, I know that you guys talk about, certain things like cannibalism and certain people involved. And I don't have evidence of that. So I can't talk about it. I'm not saying that it's not true. I just won't perpetuate a theory until I have like solid proof on it. Somebody said, Dan Snyder, this is okay. Here we go. This is a good exact explanation. Thank you for doing this. Dan Snyder was the owner of the Washington Commanders and forced to sell because of documented harassment of women employees in the organization and the cheerleaders of the team. So that really kind of tracks. Who can arrest and prosecute? Who can make arrest and prosecute? The DOJ, the FBI. That's who's supposed to be doing it. And I don't know if you guys heard this, by the way, but apparently, they wanted to investigate. Did you guys hear that in 2019, the investigation into Zorro Ranch was stopped by the federal government? Have y'all heard this? This is true. Have y'all heard this? Because depending on what y'all have heard will tell me how much I need to go into with detail for you guys on this. Somebody said, a couple of y'all said yes. Good for sticking with the original material instead of rumors and AI slop. Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to do. You heard it. Okay. Y'all heard it. And somebody said no. What? Okay. I've heard yes. A lot of y'all saying no, depending on which platform. Some of y'all are saying yes. TikTok saying no. Okay. So let's talk about this. All right. I'm going to start at the beginning. For those of y'all who don't know, I'll look at the crayon. I'll look at the sunset again in a minute, Jack. I will. Maybe when we're offline. So real quick, the New Mexico Ranch, the Zorro Ranch, which is really the property that I think people should be more concerned about than the island or even the townhouse. The ranch was out kind of in the middle of nowhere. Have y'all, for those of you who haven't seen it, let me get a picture of the ranch. Let me show y'all what this ranch looks like. Ranch. Let me get you guys a picture real quick. I want y'all to really kind of see what you're looking at here. Save image as. Hold on, I'm going to pop it up here. So if you're on TikTok, you won't be able to see it. You'll have to jump over the other platforms, but let me put it up here real quick. Image file. Okay, let me show you guys what Zorro Ranch looks like. Okay, we can remove that. We can add. There we go. I'll put myself back up here. There we go. Okay, my picture in picture. This is the ranch. And I went with this particular photo because it shows you really just how vast this area is. First of all, the property is mammoth, right? But you see that there is nothing out there. It is literally in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nothing. I think it's something like 7,700 acres or some ridiculous number like that. So this is where a lot of medical things happened. So Kate, that's not exactly right. I'm going to come back to your comment on that. That's not exactly right, but we'll talk about that in a second. So New Mexico had started to hear things and they started to do an investigation. Then they were told basically to stop the investigation and hand everything over to the Fed, that the Southern District of New York was going to be taking it over. This was back in 2019. They did that and they were hoping that it would be some kind of effort. They would see movement on the property. Then New Mexico actually reached out to the federal government, again, to the FBI, saying, hey, we think that you need to seize the property to prevent evidence from being destroyed. They did not seize any property. They left it go. Then, I believe in 2023, the property was sold to a man named Don Huffines. Don Huffines is a self-described MAGA politician. He's a former state senator, currently running for Texas comptroller. He bought this and he plans to turn it into a Christian resort, Christian camp, something like that. Now, he says, and believe it or not, I do believe him, that he has told law enforcement that they can come out and look anytime, but nobody's ever reached out to him. Nobody's ever reached out to him to come look at it, come do anything. He says that he'd be more than happy to comply. One thing that I also found out that was very interesting, though, because it's crazy how these tangled webs kind of get interwoven and intertwined. But Don Huffines has a son. I think he's got 2 sons, but one son in particular named Russell Huffines, who works in the Office of Cabinet Affairs for the current White House administration. So do with that what you will. Do with that what you will. But why do I believe him? I believe him because the federal government is not investigating it. That's why. I believe it because the federal government's not investigating it. And so it's easy for him to say, well, they're not investigating it, so nobody's called me. I believe that. To me, that's not a far stretch. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know more. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know more. But yeah. So anyways, that's what's going on with New Mexico. And so they've opened a committee to kind of investigate what had gone on there again. And that committee, if they find enough evidence, then they could go on the land. Yeah, the state had started and they were told, exactly, the state had started and they were told to stand down basically by the federal government. That's kind of what happened with that. So anyways, the thing is we also now know that there was a former employee or whatever, so there's at least two bodies, foreign girls buried on the property. But when you look at such a massive property, where would you even start? When you're looking at that many acres, people could be anywhere. But again, the fact that nobody's ever taken anything from it, nobody's ever investigated, the fact that there were 6 Jeffrey Epstein, there's evidence that shows Jeffrey Epstein got heads up. He had contacts that let him know before warrants were seized and warrants were served. And before they would get served, he would go take his stuff and put it into these storage units that apparently was never searched. These storage units weren't searched either. And there were documents and binders and computers and CDs and computer disks and journals and references and all sorts of things. So what kind of Mickey Mouse podunk operation did we have with the FBI when it came to Epstein? Why was it, when you're talking about a global trafficking ring bigger than many of us could even wrap our heads around, are you doing things so half-assed? It just makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. And I mean, it makes no, let me phrase that. It makes no sense to me unless you don't want things to be found or solved. As Disco Roller Girl said, it's not podunk, it was intentional to ignore it. And that's kind of where I was hinting at. We'll ignore what will implicate people, because you're talking about very rich, very wealthy, very powerful people. And there's so many other countries, y'all. England, UK's got so many investigations open right now. Turkey's got investigations. Poland's got investigations. France has investigations. Norway has investigations. I say Turkey. Turkey has investigations. Why don't we? Why doesn't the U.S. have any investigations? Yeah, this is breaking news. The House panel is going to subpoena Pam Bondi. I did see that. Why? And the thing is, and I'll say this too, this has to stop. I know for a lot of people, for my international people, you guys get it. For my non-international, not for a lot of my Americans, not all of you guys, my fellow Americans, a lot of people try to keep making this about right or left. And it is both, guys. It is both sides. There are multiple people connected to the Trump administration, including Trump himself, who are implicated in these files. You have Bill Clinton. You have this George Mitchell. Those are Democrats. There are other Democrats on these. It's both parties. And when it has to stop being about right versus left, Democrat versus Republican, and realizing that the other side isn't really the enemy. They're just, the other side is there to create dissension so that we don't talk about what we should be talking about. Most of us, for the most part, unless you're on the extreme right or the extreme left, most people are left of center or right of center. Most people, if you guys can kind of talk to each other, would probably find that you have a lot in common, believe it or not. So my point is that it has to really be made about both. And I'm not going to sit here and cherry pick who I'm going to talk about. If your name comes up, I'm going to talk about you. That's it. That's it. We're going to talk about it. Somebody says, do I think the recording of Trump saying, I don't care, start a war. If I go down, you're all going down with me is real or AI? It's AI. It's been Snopes and proven that that's not real. Let me talk about that. Let me address that real quick too while I got you guys here. I'm really frustrated with the fake stuff going on with this, because when you flood the zone, so to speak, which is a Steve Bannon term, but when you flood the zone, you create questions, right? You create questions. And it's like, okay, well, if this isn't true, is this true? And you muddy the waters so much that it really takes away from the victims. It takes away from the survivors. And that's problematic. So I really try to. Oh, good. I'm gonna talk about this. I'll talk about your thing in a second. I'll tell you my opinion on this. And I probably shouldn't tell you all my opinion, but I'm going to. I'll put your comment up when I do. But anyways, yeah, it's just so much. I'm gonna put this comment up. Let me hear a comment. I'm hesitant to trust anything Bill Clinton says under oath regarding S misconduct, to be honest. I agree. And I'm going to take you one step further. I'm going to come back to the AI thing. That's what I was talking about. A to D. Woo. I agree. And you want to know what I find exceptionally weird? That he goes under oath. He talks about this. He says that he doesn't know what's going on with Epstein, right? We see him in the pool. We know that Bill has an affinity for younger girls, younger women, whatever you want to say. There's no implications that he did anything with minors, so I'll say younger women. But all of a sudden, in his deposition, he's saying, well, there's nothing I saw between President Trump and Epstein that would indicate that he knew. And then all of a sudden, President Trump is, well, I really like Bill Clinton. And I don't know why they're deposing him. And Hillary, she's not bad either. Smart woman. Like his stance completely changed on it. My personal opinion with both of them, is that Trump and Bill had a conversation. It was like, I'll cover for you if you cover for me. That's kind of what I'm thinking at on that, honestly. Because those two don't like each other. They did at one point. Obviously, they were friends at one point. But to go from where he's been about Clinton and lock her up and Hillary and everything with Bill and all the stuff that he said, and then to all of a sudden make a complete 180, it's. So I'm with y'all. I don't trust what Clinton says either. It's too suspicious. Did I watch the debate where Trump said he was going to take him down? Yeah, he did. Bill did lie under oath about Monica. 100%. Again, I'm not sitting here. I'm not standing Bill Clinton. Now, here's what I will say. Hillary Clinton, and I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton. I respect Hillary Clinton. I think that she's a very intelligent woman. Very accomplished woman, Harvard graduate attorney. Not a fan of her necessarily. I truly don't think that she had anything to do with Epstein. There's not a single picture, not a single indication that she did anything with him, for what that's worth. But I do think that there is plenty of indication with Bill. And I think that there's plenty of indications, a pattern, if you will, where Bill is a philanderer. Bill cheated on Hillary more than once. So, anyways, that's kind of where that's at. And going back to the AI thing for a minute, it's dangerous because it really takes away from what's true. And the thing about these files, y'all, is that there is so much bizarre things. So many bizarre things in these files that you don't need to make anything up for it to be insane. Yeah, exactly, Mama Bear. Exactly. Bill is a man, that word, and we have known that for years. 100%. I can't pin it because you're on Instagram, but yeah, 100%. I don't think any of us are arguing that. So anyways, so when I see fake things, I try to call it out when I can. No matter who it helps or hurts, I just, whether it's Trump, whether it's Clinton, whether it's anybody, I just feel like it's important to make sure that we have the truth. Am I going to get it right 100% of the time? Maybe not, but I do my best and I'll retract if I don't. So, I mean, if you want somebody to follow who operates that way, who's going to cover this, then do that. Same as I'm doing with I am covering Iran. By the way, I'm also covering Iran also as well, because I think that both can be covered. I think that when we're talking about Iran, that's important, right? Because it's our brave men and women, our military who are dying for this. We've had at least 6 people so far who have died. Sons and daughters who won't be coming home. And there will be more, as he said. And I think that's important for us to know what's going on, what our military is doing, what our taxpayers are doing. But I also don't think that we need to let it distract from these files and the momentum that we've had going towards these files and the pressure that is going towards these files. So I'm going to come back to your question in a second, Louise. So we're going to keep doing that. We can cover both. Instagram disconnected the stream. So if you're on Insta, remove this destination, restream and add it. Okay, hold on. Well, I'm going to just we'll remove Insta. They'll have to jump on here. Anyways, okay. So that being said, I said on Insta before we lost it, I watched her whole deposition and I believe her. I do too. All right. So somebody asked a question about this. Where is it? Is it true we're losing? So here's the thing about that. I think it's too soon to know if we're losing or winning. This conflict in Iraq, in Iran. We know what we're being told by our media. We know what we're hearing coming out of Iran. And you have to, and Iran is state-run media also. They're both going to feed us propaganda, and you have to kind of just figure it out. That's where it becomes a little problematic, I guess. For anybody who's Instagram that's popping over, so sorry that we lost you guys. Instagram just kind of cut it off. But what I want to say with this is that the response we're seeing from Iran is different than any response we've seen before. And what I mean by that is they are going after anybody and everybody. Like, they're being very strategic in what they're doing. And I mean, yes, they're getting shot down, but they're attacking bases in Saudi Arabia. They're attacking airports in Dubai. They're attacking important infrastructure, because you got to think, when we send people over, when we send troops over, oftentimes it's done in a friendly airport. You just use commercial flights to get them over and keep doing that. And now you've damaged the Dubai airport. And somebody says, America cannot handle hundreds of body bags of U.S. soldiers coming home. China knows this. Iran is a proxy war by China against the U.S. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's a proxy. I think I think that we were baited into it by Israel, personally. Israel's got a bone to pick with them. My opinion. I'm sorry, but I feel that we shouldn't be there, and that war's been going on for many hundreds of years. I agree. I don't think that we should be there. We have no reason. And the other day, President Trump goes on, and I posted the video where he says his words are, well, I thought that they were going to attack us first. You don't attack a country because you think they're going to attack you first. We have some of the best intel in the entire world. We don't need to think. We can know for sure. We can know 100%. That's not a reason to send Americans to die. Or for a little girl's school, 175 or 178 student school, little girl's school, and 168 of them are dead. And I don't care what people want to say, they did it to themselves. No, they didn't. But there's no reason for us to be there. I don't think that we should be there. It's not we have plenty of issues in the United States. Let's take care of our veterans here before creating more combat veterans. So, and then I'm very frustrated by it, guys. I just don't feel I have a great respect and admiration for our military. I appreciate what they do. I appreciate that they sign up to put their lives on the line, and I appreciate that they go over there. I got a question. I got almost a couple hundred people on boat. Well, probably between everybody, like 400 people. I have military spouses here. Do I have military or military spouses here? I want to ask you guys a question real quick. I want to talk specifically to the military spouses. I know that I got some of y'all. Real quick, somebody asked about Jesse Mac Butler. I need to continue doing more, but I've been so in this stuff. I've kind of stopped on it. You're a military mom here. Okay. Veteran's wife. How do you guys feel about the brother? Okay. Veteran. How do y'all feel about this? Like specifically the military folks. People who have a son or a daughter or a sibling or a child or a spouse. Like, would you want this deployment happening for them? Is this a cause that y'all could believe in? Like, and I'm not trying to call you out. I'm legit asking because I want to know if I'm like off base on this. By the way, for military spouses and parents, thank you guys too. People kind of sleep on the military spouses, but think that they have to hold everything down, especially with kids while their partner's deployed. It's a lot, guys. Your son's a Marine. A lot. You guys have to hold down a lot. Mad respect. Watch Haystack International. That's a good, thank you. Good. So I'm going to put this up there. So somebody said, watch Haystack International News on Roku to find less propaganda on Iran war news. Yep. They join and know it's a possibility, but you join in because people typically join the military to help keep America safe, not to fight battles that we don't belong into. That's all I'm saying. So Iran's not keeping us safe. We have no reason to be there. I mean, respectfully, I'm going to disagree with that. There's no reason. There's no proof that they were going to do anything to us. Talks were going well. Yeah, you don't join to be cannon fodder for politicians. I agree. Oh, speaking of, ground invasion was just launched against Iran as thousands of U.S.-backed Kurdish fighters. I feel sorry for the families of the 6 American servicemen who have died already. I agree. And we know people have been hurt too. People has been talking for years, but there's no proof that they have. Yeah, I mean, Bush talked about WMDs too. There was never any proof of WMDs. And I like Bush, for the record. I don't agree with everything he did, but I overall like him. I love him and Obama's relationship. Yes, yeah, I do have an aquarium in the background. So, somebody made a good point. There's more evidence of crimes in these files that they won't investigate than we had that Iran was going to attack us first. In my opinion. Well, not in my opinion, that's just the thing. So, 5 deployments, good God. Yeah, so I was never in the military either. I tried to sign up after 9/11. They didn't want me. I already had high blood pressure at that age. But my family goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War. I'm actually a literal member of the Sons of the American Revolutions, like card-carrying member. I can't remember if Israeli intelligence told us Iraq had WMDs. I don't know. Anyways, the point is, though, it's important to pay attention to what's going on with what's going on in Iran, especially if you're military. And it's important to don't lose sight of the Epstein files. It's important to not lose sight of the Epstein files. So Iran doesn't care about us. 100% they don't. Do you guys know the history of Iran? It's kind of very interesting. If I was Iran, I would hate us too. Let me explain. So Actually, let me get my notes pulled back up because I actually was going to do something on this. Give me a second. Where are my notes? Bear with me, guys. No, it was in the 50s. So basically, hold on. Oh, let me find this again. I need to find the exact thing. I have so many notes here. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Here are my notes. In the early mid 1900s, Iran was ruled by a monarchy under Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, known as the Shah, which means king. At the same time, Iran had an elected government with a prime minister, and in the early 1950s, that prime minister was Mohammad Mossadegh, a nationalist politician. He became extremely popular because he wanted Iran to control its own oil. All right. At the time, most of Iran's oil profits went to a British company, Anglo-Iranian Oil, which is now known as BP. And so Mossadegh, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, nationalized the oil industry, meaning he took all of it back from Iran. Now, when that happened, this is in the 50s, the Great Britain and the US were furious. So then in 1953, the United States and Britain carried out a covert operation called Operation Ajax. The CIA and MI6 organized propaganda campaigns, bribed politicians and military officers, and helped create street unrest to remove Mossadegh, I'm saying it wrong, sorry, from power. The coup was successful. He was arrested. The Shah was restored to full power, and Iran became a strong U.S. ally. The Shah then ruled as an increasingly authoritarian monarch for the next 26 years, supported politically and militarily by the U.S. The CIA also helped train Iran's secret police, the Savak, which became infamous for torture and repression. To many Iranians, this looked like America overthrowing their democracy to control their oil and products. Then the Shah becomes deeply unpopular over the next 2 decades. He pushed rapid Western-style modernization. Political opposition was crushed. The secret police imprisoned and tortured dissidents. And many religious leaders believed the Shah was destroying Islamic culture. And by the late 70s, protests exploded across the country. Then in 1979, you had the Iranian Revolution. Mass protests forced the Shah to flee. And a religious leader living in exile, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, returned and became the leader of the revolution, who we just killed. The monarchy collapsed and Iran became an Islamic republic governed by religious clerics. So it was a revolution basically against the Shah and Western influence that put the Ayatollah in place. Then after the revolution, Iranian militants stormed the U.S. embassy in Tehran. They took 52 American diplomats hostage for 442 days. This is one of those things where this is under Carter, and then Reagan came in and got them freed, accusing the U.S. of decades of interference and support for the Shah and diplomatic. At that point, diplomatic relations between the U.S. and Iran were severed and have never fully recovered. So somebody said they hated so much. Why were they dancing in the streets to WMCA? They were not. That actually was a video from something else. They weren't dancing in the streets to WMCA or YMCA. That was a video from something else. Just like there's another video of I think Iran striking a nuclear depot or something. That's really a video of some building being hit that was actually in Ukraine. So anyway, so that's why Iran doesn't like us, because we've interfered with them, we've messed with them, and we had no business doing so. And it was over oil. It's always over oil. Anyway, so that's kind of what it's about. I don't support terrorists. I don't support any country harboring terrorist groups. I don't support any country that's going to try to harm us, but I also don't support us meddling in relations that aren't our business to meddle in. So that's me. That's me in a nutshell, guys. Anyways, I'm gonna try to do some more. I'm gonna try to do some more before I go out of town on Friday. I'll try to do 1 or 2 more videos showing you guys kind of what's going on. TikTok, I'll give you guys some more videos soon too. And so what about the recent protests in Iran, though? What about the recent protests here? I'll look at the Crayon Sunset, but just not here because I have to get that all pulled back up. But I will look at it offline for real because I can blow it up like bigger. Anyways, we're gonna keep talking about this. We're gonna keep talking about this. We're gonna talk about Epstein. We're not letting that go. We're gonna talk about Iran. We're not gonna let that go because we need to know. Just pay attention, guys. Double check stuff. Israel is always involved in all this. Is often involved in these conflicts. Like Gaza, like we didn't need to be involved. I mean, I get. Well, I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole Gaza thing. I'm just going to leave that there. Anyways, my wife called me. I'm going to go call her back, and I will talk to you guys soon. Everybody, thank you for hanging out. Oh, do last thing. Sorry, before I go, a couple last things. If you missed this stream or came in late, it is on YouTube. Please sign the petition to end easy plea deals for those who harm kids. Linked in my bio for my TikTokers, for Facebook and YouTube. It's in the show notes. And please go follow on YouTube. I'm so close to hitting 100,000 followers on YouTube. So thank you guys. I love you all, and I will see you soon.